All right, so look, I want you to kind of, again, I try to get away from the techniques, right? I try to use specific techniques to prove the example, but I want you to, like, I would really focus on trying to be as simple as possible with your jiu-jitsu, right? So if you can say, hey, whenever like I wrestle, I do this, make like an absolute statement, makes it a little bit easier to kind of adjust yourself, right? So when I wrestle up, I'm backing up when I stand up, then you can kind of know. Sometimes I talk to somebody for like 8 months and then they're like, hey, what am I doing wrong? I'm like, well, more than everything, you're just not doing the small things. It's a bit hard to create consistency, right? But everybody's gonna react differently to certain situations, right? So for example, let me come here, sorry. So if we're wrestling up here and we're getting this like this dog fight like position and we're here, right? You can see that depending on the style that Brian plays, maybe that leg is down, right? This far side knee tap's gonna be out the window, right? But don't move, right? What we did in the gi, like with the lapels, works just here the same, right? So like we're gonna connect some things here, but Marco was like, hey, what about this? There's no problem, right? So I would always limp arm. Why? Because I want to take the back from here, right? But what we can do is we can take that right hand that would be for a knee tap and we would underhook this leg just like we did in the gi, and I'll show you from multiple point of views, right? We're basically inside this position. So I would be trying to attempt to run him over, and as he pushes back into me, that hand is switching, going underneath his thigh. And all I'm doing is pushing my body into his knee to collapse it past his y-axis. So now I roll him over. And when I roll him over now, I use that hand to stack, control, pressure, walk up, then I can go, right? So we go from being in a half guard position to sweeping. We're already in a leg drag, basically 80% past his hips into a back take position, right? So again, you play that half guard, bump him to get up, and we're here, and we're driving. I'm reaching for that knee tap, I can't do anything, right? I would just do this thing. That's up to me. You do whatever you want to, right? But this option's really strong. So like I'll reach, underhook, and then I literally drive underneath of him here. That sweep is super simple. Collect, smash, control, and then do whatever you want, right? So again, it's just a technique, right? It's just a technique, but it's gonna be there. But what you wanna think about these predetermined things, right? So like if you're like, hey, I don't fucking leg drag, this is definitely not a technique you should do, right? Hey, I wanna get behind this guy and wrestle up to getting on his hips, that's what you wanna do? Well, then you should be limp arming, right? You need to be at the blue belt level. At blue belt level, have the habit of reverse engineering where you want to be into the decisions of how you're passing and how you're sweeping. Does that make sense, right? So in the gi, in a no-gi, whatever you want to do, right? If Brian said to me like, hey man, like I want to play guard, when I do, and when I come on top, I don't have to deal with neutralizing the guard, I want to get right to the back. This could fit into his options of techniques he could pick. Because then it literally fits into, he doesn't have to worry about neutralizing when he comes on top and he's already on the back, right? If you said to me, these are the other things, we're just putting characteristic towards your choices, right? But Brian would sit down with me and say, I want to be on the back and I want to play guard. Cool, so you're taking it right away, you're sweeping into these positions. Does that make sense? At blue belt, you should be naturally thinking that way as a habit. At blue belt, you probably don't have the clarity in what techniques you would do, right? At purple, you probably have a good idea. At brown, you definitely have all the information. At black, you're able to kind of see it from all different perspectives. Does that make sense? So let's do that one more time. Slightly different angle here. Wrestle up, bump to get up, right? Pushing, I can't, I reach, collapse. Then from there, I'd smash, work, and then do whatever you need to. Does that make sense, right? So that position is good. It should feel like just we did in the gi, which is basically 90-degree angle, bottom arm grip, and on the hip. It's a strong position, which is why if he had the lapel, he's fucked, right? But enjoy doing whatever you want. I don't care if you want to drill that tonight or not, but it's just like a focal point of that technique is only going to be for certain people depending on what your goals are, okay? So just keep that in mind with any technique we do, but specifically this is a good example to bring it up, yeah? Does anyone have any questions about that technique or anything about wrestling up before we go into letting you do what you guys need to for practice? Cool, 1, 2, 3.